So could I have a motion to open the meeting?
Second,
No, could I have a motion?
Motion.
sorry,
Second?
second.
Okay,
You got a
7:03.
You got it, most of them?
Three.
Here's Sylvan Whiting's letter.
Okay.
Okay, we have 6 members present.
Since we're, Madam Chair, I just want, let me get my microphone on. Since we're online also, could you take a roll call voice vote?
To see who's present?
Well, we want to make sure they're present. Only because we're online. We don't want anybody to have to file any open meeting law violations.
Well, there'll be a long line for that.
Sorry to put you through that.
Okay, for the roll call, Maggie? John?
Here.
Cynthia's here. Scott?
Yes, here.
Michael?
Here.
Fran?
Yes, here.
Ilona? Heidi?
Here.
Okay. The gang's all here. So I have to read something. Foist. In accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, which extends the governor's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until March 31st, 2025, this meeting will be conducted both in person and virtually via Google Meets. The public hearing that was held by Municipal Operations Committee on March 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. to hear and discuss the annual town meeting articles listed below has been continued to Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. The meeting will be recorded and may be broadcast live over SMAC and/or recorded for later broadcast and internet access. Agenda items may be taken out of order at chairperson's discretion. Votes may be taken on recommending articles at the town meeting. Okay, so I've called the meeting to order, and the next is the Pledge of Allegiance. What's over there? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have a quorum present, and so we're looking at the draft minutes for Tuesday, October 10th, 2023. I've given them going over, and the first thing I noted was underneath present, that paragraph, it says Cynthia Walsh was nominated for chair, and that's not the Municipal Operations Committee. Also, in Article 12 and in Article 15, I believe the fire chief spells his surname Carroll. Did anyone else spot anything?
These are so detailed. Kudos to whoever did these.
She's sitting right there.
Good job, Samantha.
Thanks. And I'll make those adjustments before I post.
Well, I was just waiting a moment. We just received these tonight, or I did anyway. So I'm sure people are checking to make sure their votes were correctly recorded. if we can harken back to October. Okay, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Heidi?
Aye.
Michael?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Cynthia, yes, so it's a unanimous vote to accept the minutes. Now I need a motion to continue the public hearing.
So moved?
Second?
Heidi?
Yep, second.
Yes, I know, but
Oh.
in favor or not?
Oh, yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Cynthia votes yes, so we have opened the public hearing. And the articles, the first article we have to hear is,
50.
yes, I know, I've
I'm
got it
sorry.
here.
Don't mean to be pushing you.
I'm not completely incompetent.
No, I'm not.
It's just the rest of me that's falling apart. So far, the brain is still,
No, you're right on the money.
You and me both, Humpty Dumpty.
I'm telling you, yes, welcome to the Kane community.
Thank you.
So Article 50, accept Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 110A, that the town vote in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 110A, to authorize the town clerk's office to remain closed on all Saturdays and to treat Saturdays as a legal holiday for purposes of calculating the time frame for filing matters in that office or to take any action relative thereto. This was inserted at the request of the town clerk, and Stephanie Carrara, our town clerk, is ready to make her statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, everyone. Stephanie Carrara, the town clerk. The reason why I'm asking that this Mass General Law be accepted is because the legislature has changed the configuration for registration to vote. For example, it used to be 20 days before an election was the last time you could register to vote for that upcoming election. And we would be open on a Wednesday till 8 o'clock. And when the legislator changed the ruling, it's now 10 days before a local election, which is very exciting. However, they did not figure it correctly, and the 10th day is now on a Saturday. So, opposed to working on a Saturday, if we accept, or if town meeting accepts this Chapter 41, Section 110A, we would not have to work on a Saturday, would save the town money. We wouldn't have to have like an officer there, we wouldn't have to have, it would just be, we wouldn't have to pay so much overtime. And what happens is that we would be able to be closed on the Saturday, be able to stay open till the proper time that we have to stay open to on a Friday, and it doesn't interfere with early voting.
Okay,
Does anyone have any
anyone,
questions?
anyone on the committee with a question for our town clerk? Anyone in the public? Mr. DeFelice, use the mic. Name and address, please.
Ed DeFelice, 200 Ethel Way, Stoughton, Precinct 6. My question, there was a phrase in here that said Saturday would be considered a legal holiday. So that implies to me that that would add another holiday for the people in the town of Stoughton. And if that is so, it's going to cost us a ton of money because that would have to apply to every employee. And we would be.
No, you're incorrect, Mr.
Well, I could be. I'm just asking an explanation.
All right. He has finished speaking. Ms. Carrara, you can respond.
If you look at the actual law, it says any public office in the city or town may remain closed on any or all Saturdays as may be determined from time to time in a city by the city council, subject to the provision of a city charter, or in a town by a vote of the town or special or regular town meeting. And the provisions of the section 9 of the chapter 4 shall apply in the case of such closing of any office on any Saturday to the same extent as if Saturday were a legal holiday. It's just for elections. It's not like everyone's going to get a holiday on a Saturday. It's not treated like that. It's the legislature improved the registration for voting, but it ends up being on a Saturday. So instead of having the town hall open on a Saturday and having the town clerk staff come in, we would just be doing it on the Friday and not on the Saturday.
All right, satisfied?
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Any other questions from the public or comments? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everyone have a good night. Is it okay if I sign off?
Of course you can sign off. We're
Thank you,
going-
Stephanie.
Thank you.
We're moving on to the next article. You can
Okay,
you can
thank
stick around if you want.
Okay, no, I'm all set. Thank you.
Good night.
And she's out.
The next hearing is Article 51. To see if the town will vote to amend the town code by adding the article as printed in the warrant below. Single-serve drinking water plastic bottle reduction bylaw. And this includes the definition, real estate regulations, who's going to enforce it, and the list of fines. And the petitioner is in the audience. If you'd come up, maybe over here, Robin, there's a mic right there. As soon as you're comfortable, you may begin.
Okay, I'm Robin Zoll. I'm the co-petitioner along with Steve Wilkinson. My address is 167 Cross Street in Precinct 7. The idea of this bylaw is to take plastic out of our water because single-serve bottles contain a lot of nanoplastics which get into the water and contaminate it. It can cause fetal damage. It can cause damage as far as major organs, etc. It's not healthy to be in the water. PFAS is one of the byproducts, which is in our water already. So we're trying to just clean our water a little bit. It's somewhat symbolic because we know that people are still going to have plastic water bottles, but at least we're making it a little harder for people in Stoughton to buy them. And making, the state has already limited it. Nobody who works for a state agency can use them right now. The towns of Concord and Arlington and Sudbury and Hingham, multiple towns, most of the Cape does not allow the sale of single-use water bottles. So.
Okay, anyone on the committee with questions for Ms. Zoll?
Yes.
Heidi Tucker. I see on the last page, the administration and enforcement is through the Board of Health. Do they support this article? Have you talked with them about it?
I haven't.
Okay. Can you do that before town meeting?
Yeah, I mean, as Steve was really the lead petitioner, but since he's not around,
Okay.
Questions, Mike?
No questions?
Scott?
Yes. So I have an opposite of view of this, and I'm curious why you selected water bottles for this. Because, and I'll tell you why. I walk around this town a lot. I have a big dog. I also exercise a lot. And was it last week I did about a 5-mile walk around town. And it was after being at this meeting and knowing that
Right.
this article was coming up. And I made a mental note of everything I saw on the street. And it was over 200 pieces of trash on the road that were consumable beverages. And the vast majority, over 150 of those, were plastic nip bottles of alcohol. So that, soda cans, single-serve soda bottles, the 16-ounce cans, all of those things are all over the street as well. None of those are any good either, right? So same idea. And if you're sort of prefacing this on human health, right? I think water is probably the last thing we should target for human health. I think sodas and liquor and that sort of thing
Yeah.
is a direct impact on human health, right? These
Right.
things are long-term health, which I agree with completely. I don't disagree with that. But I think it's slightly off the mark if we just focus on water. Because does this mean now, in a situation where we have Stoughton Day or parades or anything like that, when it's hot outside, you couldn't sell water on the streets where, like, kids are watching the parades or whatever else? They couldn't buy water to cool down. They would have to buy a soda or nips. You know what I mean? Right? I mean, so this is, I thought a lot about this, and then after walking the streets and seeing all the junk on the street, and there is a proportion that is water bottles. I don't
Yeah.
disagree with that. But it is not the majority of what I see on the road.
Okay.
So,
First of all, my naivete is that I thought nips were still in glass, so that tells you. And we would be perfectly agreeable to amending the article to include them. I mean, as I say, it's probably a omission rather, because that would definitely fall. As far as soda, et cetera, I agree that it's not that, but at least on soda, we have deposits. Had we passed the amended bottle bill several years ago, it probably would not necessitate this article, because if you give a deposit, if you have a deposit, you're more likely to recycle. 70% of all water bottles are never recycled.
Fran, a question?
No questions.
John?
Well, he mentioned what I was going to ask about. Say there was a town event. They were selling individual waters. And that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. I mean,
What do you do about that?
people can bring their own, those types of containers with them if they know they can't buy a beverage on the street. They'll probably bring, most kids, I think, have those, as a matter,
Right.
because, I know at the high school you have those water fountains where you can fill I don't know what they're called, but the water containers that most people, you're walking around with.
Now, what about the stores in town that just sell water? You go to a store and buy water. Is that included in this?
Well, it would be retail sale. We would not allow retail sale of water bottles, single-serve water bottles.
So they would have to go
Yeah.
6-pack, 24-pack, whatever.
No, it's not that. It's the size of the container. If you're buying a gallon, that's okay.
Oh, see, that's where I'm a little confused.
No, it's just, anything that's under,
Like this, right?
Oh, like that?
yeah,
okay.
like that would be what's prohibited.
I see. Thank you.
Have you had your,
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I think that,
So I have another question about the retail establishments may provide facilities for refill. Is this something that's been bounced off of retail facilities?
Well, it would be voluntary. They wouldn't have to do it, but it might be in their best interest to have some sort of place where you could fill a bottle. You know, a lot of places have actually put in facilities where you can refill bottles that you bring from home, you know, containers that you bring from home.
there's one in the back of the Great Hall,
Yeah.
and there's one at the senior center. They expect you to bring your own container and refill
Fill
it.
it.
So some of this is already coming to pass. It's not.
Is it free?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the water in the back of the town hall, that's free.
They have them at most airports too.
Yeah. In fact, two airports, I think Los Angeles and San Francisco, you cannot buy single-serve water bottles.
Yeah, it's, you know, it depends on where you are, and this is, but I have to say that there's no way you can amend this to include NIPS. That has to be a whole different article, because it would be very unfair for us to have held these hearings, and then town meeting takes an action where the owners of the stores that vend NIPS haven't had an opportunity to respond. That would be
Yeah.
extremely unfair. I mean, I don't drink, so I don't nip, and I understand people's frustration at the trash, but it would be, that's another project for another time.
Right.
Right now, we're just talking about, I don't know if I understood the answer to John's question. If I'm buying a case of 24 single-serve bottles, is that,
That would probably be excluded.
okay, so a single-serve bottle in any confirmation, whether it's a
Right.
2-pack, a 4-pack,
Right.
12-pack, okay. I thought I understood that,
Yeah.
but I want to make sure that John gets clarification. So anything else from the committee?
I was just going to make a statement about the NIP piece, because at Stoughton Cleanup Day, we went from the Baptist Church on Pearl Street up to where the power lines are in Canton, and I was with 5 kids, and I got the blessing of being able to explain what a NIP is. And we counted over 200 in that short space. We only found 2 syringes and a lot of trash,
that's
but
good.
most of the trash that we found were NIPs.
Yeah.
And I guess I would see that as a bigger cause at this point than the water bottles.
The petitioner is here for her article,
Right.
and I shouldn't have opened the door on the NIP thing, but someone else had mentioned it, and the petitioner was under the impression that the article could be amended. The only amendment you could make to this article is to make it a smaller article. You can't expand past
Okay.
single-serve water bottles, despite what some of us may feel. The public?
Are we still,
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael.
sorry about that. We're in comment period now?
Yeah, well, I thought I gave the.
Questions and comments, right?
Yeah, you're a committee member.
Go, you're a committee
Okay.
member, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that if anybody's interested, there was a front-page article on the Globe this morning about Massachusetts lagging behind in its efforts to curtail the use of single-use plastics. There's some staggering numbers on there in terms of the amount of
really
plastics we use, the amount that are recycled, which is painfully small, and the amount, the numbers, the billions of tons that go into the 5 incinerators in the state. It makes a very compelling case for curtailing the use of bottles. In terms of the NIPS question, I think they are separate issues. As you said, they do represent more of a health
Yeah.
problem than drinking water, obviously. We
Right.
want people to hydrate. We don't necessarily want people sucking down shots of Goldschlager left and right. At the same time, though, as Cynthia said, if you do expand and if you do get into sodas, if you do get into liquor, et cetera, you are going to get pushback from different industries. It is a very separate and a very distinct issue. I would be in favor of dealing with them one issue at a time because they do have different implications for health, for the environment, and for the industries involved.
Right.
And I'm very much in favor of this. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay.
One last, okay.
I think the only issue I still have about this is people are going to look at this as they go to the store, they buy water in bulk. They're buying 2, 3, 4, 5 packs of water, and they're going to say to themselves, I can't even bring a water, to the parade or to a little league game or any place in town. That's the only question I have. They're going to look at. I think a lot of people are going to look at this negatively, but I know where you're going with this, and that's.
Well, hopefully, I've been reading some articles. There are newer types of plastics that would be more biodegradable, which, if the industry had some pressure, maybe they would go towards that faster. Also, you could buy water in cardboard boxes. So hopefully, things will change along the way if they get the pressure to change them.
Just for John's edification, shall not be distributed or sold.
Right.
So if you go to Brockton and you buy your water, you can bring it to the parade, or
Right.
they're not going to be going along the parade route grabbing water bottles out of people's hands.
No.
This is just the sale of. As long as you're not selling them to the people on your left and right, you're fine. Drink away. Yes, Mr. DeFelice. Use the mic, name and address, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ed DeFelice, 200 Ethel Way, Stoughton, Precinct 6.
It's on.
There was a sentence that the petitioner said, we're just going to make this a little harder for Stoughton residents. And I take offense to saying something like that. And I think, yeah, I would. But why would you do that to your own town? I live down near Cobb's Corner. So I could, actually, if I felt like it, I could walk and get the same bottles. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because people are going to get the bottles one way or another. Okay, so we don't patronize the stores in our town because of that. So we go into adjacent towns, bring the bottles back. So where do you think those bottles are going to go? You say you're having a problem with them now. The problem is going to be the same because the same people are going to be drinking the water that they bought in another town, but they'll be dropping it walking down the road in Stoughton. I think a lot of this is a matter of education. I don't think we educate our children nowadays of why it's important. And I'm talking about all types of trash, as we see. And a matter of fact, I was just by Farrington Pond today, and someone dumped a ton of trash right along the metal fence there. But anyway, so I think a lot of it's education. The children have to be taught when they're real young, not only at school but at home, and a lot of them are. But you wouldn't get this type of stuff going on. So I think, I don't know, I wouldn't be in favor of that because I think you're only hurting merchants in this town because we're going to go out and get it somewhere else. I mean, so the money that they could have made goes to Avon, Brockton, Easton, whatever.
Okay.
So, but education is a big thing. Thank you.
And Mr. Ventresco, name and address, please.
Excuse me, Peter Ventresco, 587 Canton Street, Precinct 8. I'd like to ask a question to the petitioner. She mentioned Cape Cod, you couldn't buy bottles, single bottle bottles. I would like to know when this went into effect.
It was at least 2 or 3 years ago, I believe.
How many?
2 or 3 years ago.
I disagree with that.
I'm not quite sure of the time. I didn't look that up.
Well, I'm saying I disagree because I had a girlfriend down there a little over a year ago, and I used to go down there 3 or 4 times a week, and we always bought single bottles of water. So a lot of this information she's given us, she might just be
It's
pulling
not
out
all
of thin air.
towns.
Pardon?
It's not all towns. There's 11 communities on the
All right.
Cape.
All right, so out of 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts, she only mentioned like 6 or 8 that went into this bill. All right, I have 400 foot of frontage in my property, and it ain't that many water bottles I pick up. It's the Nips, the Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, and Burger Kings. If you want to clean up somebody, go after them. And, okay, plastic, the new trash stuff we went into last year. Okay, we were told that all our bottles and plastic didn't have to be separated. They all stay together. They go to someplace in Avon, they get crushed up, and it all gets recycled. So the plastic bottles of any kind are getting recycled. She's saying they're not. Okay, now anybody that runs, jogs, or walks doesn't want to carry some big, heavy water jug. They want the lightest bottle of water they can carry, and that's a plastic bottle. Now, you got these fines here. I mean, who's going to be chasing these people up to collect these fines? You got a second offense, $50, a third, and each after that's $100. Who's going to enforce that? I mean, the health agent has a lot more important things to do as far as health goes in the town to be looking for plastic water bottles. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
It's the sale in a retail store, and retail stores have adjusted to the fact they're not using, single-use plastic bags.
But it's like it's been said here earlier. You're just forcing people to go elsewhere and bring it in.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ventresco. Yes, Michael?
Can I make one more quick statement?
I
Just to the point
prefer
of-
that we not, the statements of the
Okay.
folks in the audience are their statements, and we've listened to them. I really would not want to debate audience members.
Could I
They
just
have
make
a right to their opinion.
Right. Can I make a non-opinionated factual statement?
Yes.
Just to clarify, I'm not, because I think Mr. Ventresco was not wrong. I think on his last trip to the Cape, he was absolutely right. But as of December 2023, the commercial ban on all single-use plastic water bottles went into effect in 9 towns on the Cape. 9 towns. They're all listed. And in terms of recyclables, only 10% of these bottles are being recycled in Massachusetts. Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's fact. We just don't,
I don't intend to.
I'm, at other hearings, I've seen petitioners verbally attacked and also members of the audience. That's not a public hearing. That's a public abuse, and I just won't, as a chair, I will not tolerate it. Did you want a follow-up statement, or are you?
No, it's basically, it's a health issue that the person who's consuming the water through the bottles is being exposed to those nanoplastics, which are, I think they're 1/1000th of a millimeter. That's how tiny they are, but it gets into your system. So it's basically your own health that's being compromised by using them.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next hearing, Article 54.
Sylvia Whiting had her hand up
Oh, did she have a, so,
before she.
you want to ask Sylvia if she has it?
Hello?
Yes, I have some reading to do before you are allowed to speak.
Did she have a question on
No,
this
she had a
bottle?
question on the bottle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sylvia Whiting, you had input on Article 51?
I know. I lost the internet connection, so I have to do this on the phone, I guess. I can't seem to get back on through the internet.
Yeah, it's showing that you're already logged in, but that's interesting. I see you on a website here, logged in, but I don't know what's going on with your system. Could be just,
Okay.
I can't understand what she's saying. What is she saying?
oh, she's saying that she can't get, she's on the phone now because somehow she lost her internet connection,
Oh, okay,
even though it shows up on our screen that she's still connected.
okay. So she wasn't speaking on Ms. Zoll's article. She's preparing for her own.
Did, just for clarification, Sylvia, did you want to speak on that Article 51, Robin Zoll's petition article? You had your hand up. No?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know you've come out more than one time on this issue.
Thank you,
3 times. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for your
you.
participation.
To see if the town will vote to replace the holiday Christopher Columbus Day on the second Monday of October with Indigenous Peoples' Day, or take any other action relative thereto. Also, the petitioner wrote a letter and asked that it be read. Thank you for bringing Article 54, Columbus Day name changed to Indigenous Peoples' Day, before the Municipal Operations Committee. I will not be able to attend in person, and am submitting the following information in support of this article. I'm also asking that it be added to the official record of the Municipal Operations Committee meeting. Stoughton has a long and distinguished history that will be celebrated in 2026 with the historic 300th anniversary. However, this history did not begin 300 years ago. Indigenous peoples have inhabited these lands for over 10,000 years. The Americas were not discovered by European explorers such as Columbus, but by people hailing from Asia nearly 16,000 years ago. All indigenous Americans and many early American settlers through marriage are derived from these first peoples. The large pre-Columbian population sustained itself through farming with extensive archaeological evidence for slash-and-burn agriculture, terrace fields, large earthen mounds, and home gardens. She cites from Wikipedia. This changed in the decades after Europeans first set foot on the island of Hispaniola in 1497, now Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and the mainland in 1517. The Europeans brought measles, smallpox, influenza, and the bubonic plague across the Atlantic with devastating consequences for the indigenous populations. Entire families perished. Again from Wikipedia. At this time, Columbus thought he was sailing to the Indies, now Indonesia, but landed in the Bahamas. The explorers at that time did not know there was land between Europe and the East Indies. The area we now call Stoughton was aboriginal before 1620. The territory was inhabited by native peoples including Algonquins, Massachusetts tribe, local Neponsets, Pequots, Wampanoags, Nonantums, and Nashaways. The rulers of the time were Chief Chickatawbut, Regent Kitchamakan, and Chief Wampatuck. The first white child was born in Stoughton around 1701. By 1794, the town of Stoughton had a population of 1,994 white residents. Indigenous peoples were not considered citizens, but lived in Stoughton under guardianship, with a designated European guardian between 1727 and 1852. Some of the early guardians had surnames: Quincy, Capon, Upham, Shepherd, Belcher, Billings, and other familiar names in Stoughton. And this was from the Stoughton Historical Society archives. There are many reasons to recognize Indigenous Peoples' Day in light of the tragic history and the impact on our early ancestors, including to recognize the humanity, culture, and history of the nation's native inhabitants, to celebrate Indigenous resilience and survival, the Stoughton, Massachusetts, as well as throughout the Americas, to join over 20 towns in Massachusetts and many states that have already changed the name of the holiday, citing the genocide of native people that followed Columbus's travels and a desire to honor those whose lands and lives were taken. These towns include Amherst, Arlington, Bedford, Belmont, Brookline, Cambridge, Southampton, Falmouth, Great Barrington, Holyoke, Marblehead, Mashpee, Maynard, Melrose, Newton, Northampton, Provincetown, Salem, Somerville, Wellesley. To acknowledge the reality of Columbus and the accurate history of the beginnings of the Americas, under today's that followed Columbus travels, and
Or you're just getting some feedback. That's all.
I don't know what's happening.
She's on there 3.
Sylvia, could you do us a favor and mute your phone? Yeah, now you're muted, but that's okay. Let us just finish reading the letter. We'll
To
do it.
acknowledge the reality of Columbus and the accurate history of the beginnings of the Americas. Unto today's standards, Columbus was a terrorist. Ferries Gray, Ponkapog Tribe, told the Joint Committee on State Administration and Regulatory Oversight. We celebrate these acts of terrorism, says a lot about us as a culture. We are not responsible for actions that happened 500 years ago. We are responsible for what we do today. We're teaching our children that it's acceptable to do this to Indigenous people. This is acceptable to the Commonwealth and acceptable to the United States. We need to change this. To acknowledge and recognize our discriminatory past, we are living in a time when it is no longer okay to disrespect, discriminate, to disempower, to deny truth. We can no longer honor someone who does not deserve our respect or admiration, as stated by Professor I know it's Emerita. Okay, Emerita Sandra Feynman Silva, PhD, Falmouth. Article 54 is in no way meant to disrespect Italian Americans or anyone who lives in this nation. However, keeping Columbus Day as a historical day is like efforts of clinging to racist monuments commemorating the Confederacy. Massachusetts should celebrate the indigenous people on whose land we sit, not commemorate their suppressor. Massachusetts should publicly recognize the thriving indigenous communities throughout Massachusetts and within Stoughton. This change would shift the focus from the romanticized false narrative to recognize its true original sin in American history. Stoughton has an opportunity to play our small part in recognizing this change. I look forward to your unanimous support of Warrant Article 54. Thank you, yours truly, Dr. Maxwell and Sylvia Whiting, Town Meeting Representative, Precinct 6. And the petitioner is on the line.
Yes, I'm here, now I'm on the call. I'm on, it's a visual call, it looks like.
Yes, you are. Do you want to go ask her for anything?
She wants the committee to respond. I can't hear her.
Okay. Sylvia, did you want to add anything to Cynthia's reading of your letter?
No, just thank you for taking the time to accept the article, and I look forward to your support.
Okay, comments from the committee. John? Fran?
No comment.
Scott?
I'm in favor of this. I think it's about time that this happens. So I would have a lot more to say if there is disagreement, but for now.
Michael?
Excuse me, also very much in favor. The only thing I would add is that I think there is some concern. I don't think anybody objects to celebrating indigenous peoples. I know that there has been some pushback sometimes in some quarters that this somehow dishonors Italian Americans. I'd be all in favor of establishing yet another holiday for Italian Americans, if necessary, celebrating actual Italian Americans who have, or Italians per se, who have actually contributed to Italian history and culture, which Columbus did not do in any way, and who actually deserve our respect. I consider even the DiMaggio brothers, perhaps, with a nod to both New York and Boston in that case. That's all. Thanks, Sylvia, for introducing the article.
Heidi?
I too support the article. I just want to also make a couple notations that I just wrote down. That thank goodness that Stoughton doesn't have a historical marker about the first white child being born, although maybe it is somewhere. But in my family, we always call those hysterical markers because it's always the first white person did this here. And as an indigenous person from the Midwest, it's very sad, it's very painful to read those things, and it's also not the truth. Might be the truth for the first white person, but it's not the first white person or the first person to cross a river, which is often how those hysterical markers are referenced, as if we were never crossed the river before, and as if nobody had been on those lands before. I think this is also important because American Indians were not recognized as citizens in the United States until 1924. We did not have freedom of religion until my lifetime, and that was in 1978. So yours too, probably everyone in this room, maybe? And then that was again changed and ratified in 1994. So the recognition of Indigenous people in this country has been really crappy. Has been really crappy and non-existent. When you look at statistics, oftentimes it's Black, Asians, and Hispanics, and we are not even included. And so to have a day and to have a town that I live in to be able to recognize a day like this, I think is a really big deal and a great move forward.
Thank you. Members of the audience? I think your hand was up.
Ed DeFelice, 20 Ethel Way, Stoughton. Okay. What I wanted to say is I'm here tonight to express my concern over this article. The proposal for Stoughton to eliminate the federal holiday Christopher Columbus Day and to replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day. I, like many Italian Americans, find this hurtful in an attack on our Italian heritage. Columbus Day is the U.S. federal holiday in commemoration of explorer Christopher Columbus and his landing in the New World on what was called the New World on October 12, 1492. It also celebrates the culture, heritage of Italian Americans since Columbus was born in Genoa, Italy. The first celebration of Columbus Day was on October 12, 1792, on the 300th anniversary of the historic landing. On March 11, 1891, one of the largest mass hangings in the United States happened in New Orleans. 11 Italians were hung. In the wake of this horrific act of prejudice to Italians, President Benjamin Harrison in 1892 established Columbus Day. Columbus had an undeniable impact, sparking the great age of Atlantic exploration. Again, he was an explorer, not a terrorist, an explorer. And I take real exception for the use of that word applied here.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like
Yes,
to add?
just a little smidge here. Nobody who lived in the 15th, the 15th century should be judged by the standards of today, centuries later. American Italians see Columbus Day as a salute to our Italian ancestors. They came to America legally, faced adversity, as previously mentioned, and some worse. Learned the language, worked hard, kept traditions, and stayed proud. I, too, am proud to be an Italian American. And to hear, I think part of the problem nowadays is that we want to attack, people that lived centuries ago and judge them by the standards centuries later. It's ridiculous. Everybody deserves a day. I can agree with that. And my feeling is there should be a Columbus Day and an Indigenous Peoples Day so that everybody has their holiday, but to usurp a holiday for another group is not fair. So my suggestion would be you have 2 holidays, and there are some states that do that. And again, I'm really upset by the language used, especially the idea of this man was a terrorist. He was an explorer. He was an explorer. He was an explorer. Thank you so much.
Anyone else in the audience? Yes, Mr. Ventresco?
Peter Ventresco, 587 Cannon Street. Well, she's changed her article here a little bit from the last time because it's a lot longer. In one of the paragraphs she had the last time, she was blaming Columbus for 10 million American Indians being killed. And then she gave a date in the middle 1800s. Well, that was like 500 years after Columbus. So Columbus, at the time, I said he never set foot in the United States or America. Now, under today's standards, Columbus is a terrorist. Well, if you want to look back in history, every explorer from every country, they were terrorists. That's the way life was. And it still is in lots of places in Africa today. That's the way people are. All right, if you can go back to Egypt, the slaves built the pyramids. Well, I'm just trying to give you
Yes.
a history.
Yes, thank
The
you.
Jewish slaves built the Roman Colosseum. All right, so in October 12, 1842, Columbus landed in the Indies, with his 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Nina, and the Pinta. He called it Hispaniola. And today it's the Bahamas, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. Columbus never set foot in America. American Indians were killed by Spanish, French, and English in the 1800s. Italy became a unified country in the year 1861. That's why Columbus went to Spain for funding and sailed for Spain, because there was no unified country in Italy, and there was no money there. All right, no Italian explorer ever came to America. There wasn't none. And no Italian ever killed an American Indian. That's a fact. That's history. Now, what's the next? What's next? Spanish holiday, Cinco de Mayo. They killed American Indians.
You're kind of drifting off.
No,
that.
I'm giving you a history of who really killed the...
Mr. Ventresco, Cinco de Mayo is not an American holiday.
No, but it will be, because it's a big holiday that they
You
celebrate.
are
All
you're
right.
making some
Let me-
assumptions
all right.
about the future.
All right, can I just let me finish? Okay. And they killed not only American Indians, but the Mayans and the Incas. Then what can we do after okay. Then we can go after St. Patrick's Day. It's a holy day. Then where's it end?
We are
Yeah, I
not,
mean,
the Roman Catholic
Well, I'm just
Church
trying to
has
make a point.
established
If
St.
we
Patrick's
keep
Day.
killing holidays, we're going to go after everybody.
But St. Patrick's Day is not a legal holiday.
No, but it's a holiday.
There are plenty of things on the
It's
calendar.
the Irish holiday. Yes or no?
And my
Yes, sir.
grandfather Patrick was born on St. Patrick's Day, and I'm not in favor of establishing. Different ethnicities celebrate different things at different times. We're talking about presently a federal legal holiday and a proposal to change the name. Anything else from the public? From my committee?
Can I add a correction?
Somebody has a question?
Can I add a correction?
You need a mic.
Columbus Day was made, as I mentioned, a federal holiday, and it was reaffirmed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And so, to my knowledge, it's still a federal holiday, because I've never seen anything that's...
But there's a slash now, and it's Indigenous Persons Day.
No. it was named, the holiday was named for Christopher Columbus by both of these presidents that I mentioned.
Thank you.
You know, so that's why I say we each should have our day.
It will remain unless Congress makes a decision, it will remain a legal federal holiday in perpetuity. This is just something for Stoughton. We can't change the federal government.
I know. Being a resident of Stoughton, we are obviously citizens of this country, and the administrations back in those days, two of them, some time apart, had and the second one, Roosevelt, reaffirmed the holiday of Columbus Day. But as I mentioned earlier, there's room. You know, the calendar is quite large. We just made a holiday just recently for the 10th of June, I think it was. And the point being that there can be two holidays. I have no problem with that. But they should not be on the same day. And the new holiday would be for Indigenous Day, but it should not usurp our day.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Okay, you are the petitioner. You have a right to follow up, make a closing statement.
Sure, I'd like to thank everybody for your comments. I did want to point out that Columbus actually never did reach the mainland, just to respond to some of your comments. Complaints from settlers and natives about Columbus. He was considered a tyrannical, brutal governor of Hispaniola, which led to his arrest in 1500. He was brought back to Spain in chains, but was released and never did serve time in prison for that. His final voyage was in 1502, so there is really very much documented history about Columbus's impact on where we live now in Stoughton, on the U.S. population. He may have never set foot in the mainland where we are now, but he brought with him many settlers who migrated to this area, and the main way that the native peoples died at that time was through disease. So it was really the information one of the guests here presented about how many native peoples died as a result of that is really astronomical. There's no comparison except to World War II to any other event in our history. I think this is very controversial. I do want to acknowledge that many states actually don't recognize Columbus Day. They recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. Alaska, for example, has renamed Indigenous Peoples Day in 2015. Arizona did in 2020. Virginia has done the same. Tennessee, the Friday after Thanksgiving, they substituted for Columbus Day holiday. And then a number of states don't recognize it at all. So even though it is a federal holiday, liquor stores are opened, businesses are opened, only the federal government employees don't work that day. Stoughton is a very functioning city on Columbus Day as opposed to, say, New Year's Day or Christmas. So I think that all needs to be taken into consideration. And if you have any more questions, I'm available. Hopefully my link will continue for a few more minutes, and I thank you for your input. I did want to acknowledge that I received a postcard in the mail from I'm not sure who that I found very unsettling, telling me to leave Columbus Day alone. So I would like to share this with the committee, and I shared it with the police department, and I do not expect any ramifications for me personally, for my family, for my home, or for anyone else related to this article from anyone in our community, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. No, she gave the closing statement on her article, and the public has been given ample time to speak on the article. So what I need now is a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Heidi?
Aye.
Michael?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes.
John? And I vote yes. So that concludes all of our public hearings, and we will begin going through our articles. Now, there are 22 of them. And let me get my list. Okay. And we're going to go through them. Thank you to the public. Of course, you're welcome to stay through the votes, but there'll be no more input from the public unless the building's on fire and we haven't noticed.
Virginia, I thought.
So, we're starting,
Madam Chairman, can I just say something for a second? Last Monday evening, I had a hard time hearing,
yes.
so it's, a lot of these articles are going to be the first time that I've,
Okay, what I
I'll do.
wanted to say is, I know that I am definitely bossy.
Probably not.
So,
I've seen it over here.
but I want to assure you, the committee, we will name an article, call an article number and give its title. Someone will make a motion, someone will second. We will have discussion. I ask you not to go on for too long, but certainly if you have questions because you couldn't hear or you weren't present, we're just going to have to, I am going to have to be a little patient.
Mike, do you have these?
I don't have that.
Okay, I don't have them printed out, so I'm just gonna collect two.
So we have,
I'm all set.
we're going to start with Article 20. Article 20, Public Works and Facilities Capital, and the request is for $151,000 for a rack truck. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Well, the motion would be either to approve or disapprove.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Could I have a second?
Second?
Now, before we vote, is there a question from the committee, any committee member, on the purchase of a $151,000 rack truck for Public Works?
Are they keeping the, is this in addition to, are they keeping the truck they're replacing or they're going to replace?
They're gonna replace it, they said.
Yeah, the one they have is just
Sorry, it's just for a
in no
little-
shape. I think it's 25 years old,
26 years old.
26 years old. And you did understand that this is the truck they use for all the large things. Now you have to call and pay. And so it goes out more than once a week. In the past, they did it once a week. But this is for your stove and your sofa. And did anyone else have a question on the rack truck?
I'm just getting one out. Who else? Oh, you need two.
The motion on the floor is to approve the purchase.
What article?
This is 20. Heidi?
I'm all for it.
I'm sorry.
Yay.
Michael?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes. That is a unanimous vote. Next is Article 21. This is just to put aside $75,000 to undertake maintenance, extraordinary maintenance, improvements, repairs, upgrades, modifications, and the like at town-owned buildings and facilities. And as was explained, that things happen, and it takes 48 hours to call a FinCom meeting for them to take it out of their reserves. And many of you may know that last February, there was a big flood here. So this is for that kind of thing. Right now, they're concerned about some bricks that are falling from the side of this building, from the outside of the building. Could I have a
Here's few
motion?
more.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Okay. Any discussion on this article? $75,000 for emergency repairs to any town-owned building, not just town hall.
So I saw the video. I saw the video over the weekend. I feel like this is the same thing that was presented from the town about the DPW, except now it's like insert old buildings and give us the free use of, what is it, $150,000? Is that what the, 100, or $75,000? So I don't know how I feel about this, because I feel like it's the same thing when we had the damage in this building. I was surprised that it wasn't like covered by insurance, and that
Yes,
they
but
were
we still haven't gotten the money.
from the insurance company.
Right, so you do
Okay.
have to pay people to come in and paint and stuff, and not ask them to wait for a year or so.
Yeah. So is that like a non-residential thing? Like, it just seems like a really long time to me.
Well, there's a quibbling about how much the damage is worth. Is it 1 million? Is it 2 million? Is it 3 million? We're talking millions of
Yeah,
dollars.
yeah.
And insurance companies are not noted for their open wallet policy. And we've already had to repaint some areas because water got in the walls and is bubbling. So we technically aren't even finished with all the repairs.
Okay, thank you.
Why don't I start the vote this way? And if you're not sure either way, you can always abstain.
Yeah, thank you.
John,
Vote to approve.
do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
So are you voting yes or no?
Yes.
Yes from John. Fran?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'm voting yes, and Heidi, how
Because I
would,
don't have my questions answered, like, I mean, I know that you
Then
just
you
answered
abstain.
them, that I'm going to abstain.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 4 yays and, actually, it's 5 yays and 1 abstention. And sorry that I could not answer your questions adequately. 22 is the police department capital. So we have 4 cruisers, 3 standard, 1 unmarked, $255,000. New firearms, $160,000, and ballistic vests, 49 of them, for $72,000.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Discussion.
Seems routine.
Yes, except for the vests, and the chief explained that the vests are only guaranteed to stop a bullet for about 5 years.
Yeah, I think there's a 5 or 6 year rotation on those.
Yeah. And, I mean, when they're calling them ballistic vests, not bulletproof vests, because they literally aren't bulletproof. They'll stop quite a few things, but not everything. Sadly, for years, officers didn't wear any protective gear like that unless they knew it was they were walking into a bank robbery or something. But now, just stopping a car for weaving on the road can cost you your life. Anybody else have a question? John, were you satisfied? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're voting on approval. Heidi?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm voting yes. So that's a unanimous approval of 22. 23 is the fire department capital.
Motion to approve?
And that's an ambulance for $450,000, Ladder 2 refurbishment for $200,000, and incident command vehicle for $90,000. Was there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Okay, we'll have the vote then. John?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. That's another unanimous vote. Now we're on 24, in I&I, our favorite annual article. They're requesting $400,000, but according to Mr. Tisdale, we'll get at least 75% of that back from, is it the MWRA? It's an annual article. They do about 1/10 of the town at a time. And of course, once you do all 10/10ths, you've got to go back. And their main concern is infiltration. Wherever you have a sewer lid, manhole cover, I guess it's called. And with the heavier the rain, the more likely there is, even though those are supposed to be watertight, that some of that will infiltrate into our system, which increases what we pay the MWRA for sewer, because it is metered. We have a motion. Do we?
Second.
Who made the motion? Michael, okay. And are there discussion now about I&I? Okay, we'll have the vote. Heidi?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
John? Yes. And the chair votes yes. That's another unanimous vote. Article 25, and this is some sewer and water and sewer trucks. A new jet truck for $350,000, and two F-250 work trucks with plows, $150,000. Those are replacements. And then one new F-250 work truck with plow, $82,000, and that's an additional truck. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Any questions? All right, we'll have the vote. Up, question?
In my notes, I have, are we keeping the fourth car? But I don't know what that, a car replaces A3 end-of-life vehicle rotating
I
policy.
think you're on the previous article.
Oh, okay. Oh, incident command vehicle?
Yeah, these are all the trucks.
Okay, ladder truck.
Jet truck and three work trucks with plows.
Okay, gotcha.
Ready?
Yep, go.
Heidi?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Cynthia votes yes. Another unanimous vote. Now we're on Article 26, Pratt Court water treatment improvements. And this is a big one. There is a Massachusetts Clean Water Trust where we can borrow the money. And they'll be looking for other things, other sources, because it's $4,440,000. But it's to get those PFAS, that PFAS out of the water. You may remember this article from last year. At that point, people said, the government hasn't set standards or anything for this. It's kind of early. The standards are still not written in stone, but we know that it's in the water. It's shown by tests that it's in the water. And eventually, I think they have to cut it. They've set a number where it has to be below, and At least one of our wells is not below that. But the trouble with these standards is, as more systems filtering it out, they start to lower, or I don't know if we say lower, but it might be 24% removed, and then they say, no, it has to be 10%, or no, they have to be 50%, then it has to be 75%. So they seem to raise the bar. This has happened to us on other items that are in the water. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Any discussion?
Well, when we go to vote,
Oh, well, if you have a question,
I just need more information on it.
pardon me?
I need information on this.
You need more
I
information?
just don't know, I need to know more about it before I,
Okay,
Oh, yes.
so you think you'll be abstaining then?
yes.
Okay, well, we'll start with you then, John. John is abstaining. Fran?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Are there any questions that John could ask that the rest of the committee could help fill gaps for him?
Well, you would have to go through the whole article, because like I said, I cannot hear
Yeah.
a lot. And this was a pretty lengthy discussion. I tried to make out what was being said, and I just couldn't hear it.
Okay,
So I'll learn more about it at town meeting.
okay.
Did you get the handout for Article
I got it right here.
26? Okay.
Yeah, he's got it right here, it's just
Okay.
that it was a lengthy presentation.
It was,
and,
yeah.
If you can't hear, you can't hear.
If you go on SMAC, you can find the link, or just even Google, like our meeting and the date. You can find it and you can hear it really well, because that's what I did over the weekend.
Okay, 27 is Cedar Hill Capital, and it's a cart and equipment storage tent for $30,000, course renovations for $40,000, and greens roller for $18,000. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, I'd like it noted in the minutes, please, Sam. I'm abstaining from voting because I'm a member of the Cedar Hill Golf Course Operations Committee. So we'll vote on approval. Heidi?
Before we vote, can I just make a comment?
Of course you can.
Listening to this and just thinking back, like pre-pandemic, our conversations about Cedar Hill has completely turned around, and so many more people are supportive of it, and they're making money. And so I just think, like, doing these improvements and knowing that they're doing so well, I just want to pat them on the back, and just for being able to, continue to renovate and fix things up. I think it's wonderful.
And in the article, these are going to be paid for from retained earnings. So the course is going to use money that the course earned to make these.
Which they couldn't have 5 or 6 years ago.
No.
So I think it's great.
No, it's $600,000.
So,
He's done a good job.
yeah.
People keep coming back. We thought there'd be a, pandemic.
Condominiums.
No, I think it's like people discovered it. It's like a
think
little
it-
gem.
It's a gem, and also, it doesn't hurt that we have a good concessionaire, and we have outdoor dining. So people bring the kids, sit them outside with a couple of hot dogs, and they can do their 9 holes. Okay, so ready to vote, Heidi?
Yep. Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
And I'm abstaining. Okay, 28 is the Town Pond Management Program. This, again, it's $64,000. It's an ongoing project, removing the vegetation from the ponds. They're going to do 4. Could I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Anyone willing to second?
Second.
Oh, second. Sorry, I'm reading my notes.
I know, well, you're entitled. I know I'm kind of bulldozing through this, but that's the way I,
No, really?
So the comment, I have two comments. I know that they've been using sonar, and then they have contact herbicides that they use for the ponds, and they cycle the ponds each year as to which one is going to be getting like the treatment and stuff. It was sad to hear that their last treatment didn't kind of go as planned, and it sounded like it was because of the contractor that they used. So I thought that was unfortunate, and I was wondering if we're using the same contractor. And then the other thing is that if we do this annually, can they add it to the budget? And then I was also curious as if they had ever considered using a nano bubbler. And so I contacted Mr. Conlon late this afternoon, so you didn't have a chance to get back to me, to ask that question.
okay. Anyone else?
I'm on the Conservation Commission, but unfortunately, I can tell you, I've never heard a reference to I have no idea what a nano bubbler is. And
I have a friend who has one in her lagoon.
I'd love to learn more about it. I wish I could answer your question. I don't recall us talking about using a different contractor. You shouldn't base your vote entirely on that, but I don't recall it. I wish I could help you more with
So
that.
I support what we're doing now, but I think there needs to be research into newer technology, and one I know of is a nano bubbler, and I saw it getting installed out in Wisconsin, and then I went back a month later and I saw how much of the area that it had cleared, and it's along the St. Croix River, but it's in like a lagoon area.
If Jim doesn't get back to you,
So-
I'm bringing it up at our next meeting. I'll definitely bring it up
So
at our next meeting.
I called
It's
him
an
at like
interesting idea.
3:55 today, so
Okay.
he didn't have a chance, so
Did your friend want to say something?
that's all I had to say on that.
I also work for the town. I'm the procurement officer, and I know that we did basically fire the previous contractor. We won't be using them in the future, so.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
was sad to hear that, but I'm glad that a decision was made, because my daughter was laughing at me because there were times where I was yelling at my computer. So it was like, well, did they fire him?
I don't know if it's a nano bubbler. It's just a fountain. We have the pond we use to water the greens at Cedar Hill has a fountain in it, and that helps keep a lot of the growth away too.
I know that also helps with like the ions in the water, and don't think that I like know all kinds of stuff, but it just so happens that I know about the nano bubblers because my friend just installed one, so I talked to her about it. I think it's something to consider for us to use because it's very safe and
As
it's
far as it
pretty
being in
amazing.
the budget, that's been suggested, just with, the same with I&I. It's
Yeah,
an
it's
annual article.
these things that come up every year for us. I don't understand why they're just not in the general budget.
Nobody wants to add to their budget,
Yeah.
because someone will say, oh, well, someone, we all know who this person is, will say, well, your budget went up 13%. Well, and then you have to explain it's because of the I&I or it's because of the water treatment. Okay, ready to vote?
Yes.
We did get we got a one, okay. Heidi?
Yes.
Michael?
Abstain.
Michael is a member of the Conservation Commission? Because I think people want to know why why any of us abstain. It's a private thing, but people want to know. Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes.
And chair votes yes, so that's 5 yeses and an abstention. Next, we're on, and this is where some of you may have to abstain because you just didn't get the full presentation. This is the intersection improvement design at Plain and West Streets. I mean, you can vote on whatever you like.
What article?
29.
That's why I watched the video.
Pardon?
I watched the video so I could vote.
Okay, no.
I actually heard this one.
Okay.
Well, first we need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, now, John, a question.
Well, I actually heard this one, so.
Okay, oh, okay.
I was going to get you the documentation.
No, I'm all set.
This is design, and it's $55,000. Is everyone ready to vote? Okay. John?
I'm going to vote to abstain because this is going to be quite an issue at town meeting.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's,
Well, you abstained.
okay.
That's your right. Fran?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
And I'm voting yes. Next is Article 30. This is Canton and School Street intersection. And this one's been on the back burner for a long time.
Okay.
225,000.
You need the documentation?
No.
I'm sorry. He was asking something. I didn't get your
I'm
question.
sorry, since I got the intersections mixed up.
Mixed up?
Okay.
Can I go back and,
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes on the previous one.
Oh, I gotta cross that out now?
Should have brought a pencil.
I didn't have one. I didn't have one.
Do you have
To
something
make
on
it
this?
clear, on Article
Do you have any paperwork? or something on
29,
this?
it was a
Oh, yeah, I have
unanimous
handout.
vote.
What's it, 20?
Right, I'm going to, right.
30?
So can I have may I have a motion on Article 30, Canton and School?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Here you go, Michael.
Now we can have a discussion on the Canton School Street intersection design. Did anyone have a question or a comment?
Yes, I want to comment. This intersection is very small already, and I don't know, I can't picture in my mind what improvements they're going to make this any better.
They're putting lights.
Well, that's a start. So I think I'm going to abstain at this time.
Okay. Anyone else with a comment? Yes, sorry, Heidi.
My question slash comment, so I didn't understand that they were putting lights there, I must have missed that during the meeting.
Excuse me,
Dancing over
somebody like Sanford and Son.
Hitting,
Is it on the left? Yeah, there you go.
Okay, your question, Heidi. Now that we've had a little moment of levity.
Dance. So my question was, because they said that in the video that they were making the intersection bigger. And I see that they've taken this little triangle on this property away. How did they, was that town property anyways? Or was there some sort of like,
I mean, I've got it
talking about
somewhere.
this corner where that house is? There's like a little tiny triangle there. Because somebody had said they were making the intersection bigger, and I was like, so whose property are they taking?
I think they mentioned they're gonna change up that road where it comes in.
Okay, so were those two roads merged before you?
Yeah, I think they're going to
You
make
have
one
two
a one-way.
opportunities to get into an accident right now.
They're making one of them one
them's
way.
a one-way.
Yeah, one way. They're
The
gonna
one
change
coming
it.
from the left
The one
side
on
is
the
going to be a
left.
one-way.
Okay, gotcha.
oh my God,
You have to.
I did mute it.
You know, I'm 75 and I still know how to silence a phone.
That number. Okay, so yeah, so that's that was my only question.
They're
was
also gonna
about
change
how
up that
was gonna-
intersection a little bit, you know, the one way, they're gonna kinda
Yeah.
move it or something, I don't know.
It needs
Okay.
it. I mean, I would just say that this needs to happen as soon as possible. There was just, I
It
mean,
was on Friday, there were 2 kids hit there.
No
Yeah.
kidding,
Yeah,
really?
the crossing guard put the sign up, and a car didn't care, and hit 2 kids on bikes with no helmets.
one kid was
A
airlifted.
woman going to the church was killed.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this just happened on
This happened
Friday.
Friday.
This happened
So
on
one
Friday.
was sent to Good Sam, the other one was sent into Boston, and they're both okay, thankfully.
Yeah, it just,
But it could have been another fatality
yeah,
easily.
it's,
Yeah.
it's a very, that's why the design for this is gonna be so expensive, is you have to take into account the railroad tracks too. It's complicated, but we still have to find a solution.
But there's also funding coming from Mass DOT for this, right? That's, we're fronting the bill for the engineering, right? And then Mass DOT
Yeah.
is,
We've been very
For
lucky
voluntary.
with, a lot of the projects you see are being paid for by the state, not us. But we have to front it first, and then we have to go through OCPC, because they have a list of priority streets, and we compete with all the other communities. That's why
Is that
part of the
right,
reason.
Fran? No, I'm sorry, Fran's a procurement. So she's just double checking you.
She speaks the truth.
Okay. You know all this stuff, don't you? I didn't know it all. I couldn't verbatim.
Well, there's what they call the tip list, and they review it annually, at least annually. And we're up against Brockton, there's some heavy hitters out there. So that's why it takes us a few years longer.
I also appreciate that they're going to sync the lights up with the train.
Yes.
They had to do that near the Minneapolis International Airport, which is kind of a disaster driving through, but they made it, like, they really dumbed it down for any driver coming in.
Well, today
So-
in Eastham, somebody didn't quite make it all the way off the tracks on the back of his 18-wheeler. Nobody got hurt. You can't account for everything, but you can improve what we have now. Because I know whenever I'm on Canton and we're going along, I don't drive, so the person next to me is driving. I'm always petrified that someone's going to come shooting up school. And I'm on that side of the car. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ready to vote? Heidi?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Reluctantly.
No
I don't,
pressure.
I'm picturing what's going to happen with a light in there and the traffic. On the other hand, I come through there at least twice a day. I live right around the corner, and it's a nightmare as it is. So it's a lesser of two evils as far as I'm
Yes.
concerned. So it's a yes.
So that was a yes. Scott?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Abstain.
John's abstaining. I'm voting yes on behalf of that little old lady who just wanted to pray. 31, Cedar Hill drainage and parking improvements. And this, the estimated cost is $67,000. If you've been to Cedar Hill, you may know that half the parking lot is gravel. And that's not working, now that we have a lot of customers. We need pavement, and we need it marked off in parking spaces so that we can fit more people in. And according to Mark Tisdale, some of the rules about what you can put near a body of water have changed. It's gravel because it's close to the pond, but now you're allowed to, with proper drainage, not going into the pond, you're allowed to pave the entire area. And he's the engineer, I'm not. But I know that the other improvement will be an in and an out. Right now, there's just a curb cut. And it will be marked so people will know we come in this way and we go out this way, rather than that way.
And are there more parking spaces because they
Can't
have
stop
the
it,
in and out?
notifications.
Are there more parking spaces now because they have the in and out and they'll be designated?
Well, once we
yeah, I don't do that.
stripe it, we'll definitely have more parking.
Yeah.
On the gravel isn't striped at all, so people just park.
Freestyle.
And if we're going to have an inviting atmosphere, I think people want to know that if they park between these two lines, their car should be okay when they come out.
So I appreciated the in and outdoor and the bioretention areas and the ability to maintain the pond's integrity.
Likewise.
Well, it's our water source.
Yeah.
We do not water with town water. We have another pond further in on the course. And we have two wells. The wells feed into the pond. Right now, we don't have to do any pumping because the water level is so high. So those, and again, the appropriation will be transferred from retained earnings. Do we have, well, we have a motion and a second, right? Sam? No.
Motion to
motion?
approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. John?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Heidi? Yes. Cynthia Walsh is abstaining because she's a member of the Cedar Hill Golf Course Operations Committee. Okay. Article 32, police station expansion and renovation design. So what was presented at the hearing was a couple of possibilities, but until they design it, we won't know, what it's really going to look like. And just the design is going to cost $300,000. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion on this? One of the issues that came out before about this is there are more women on the department than there is space in the women's locker room. So my sister was the only female, and she had to use the cell for women prisoners. That was the bathroom she had to use, and that's where she had to change. I don't think even though the station was only built about 23 years ago, no, that's about 25 years ago, there were 4 women. They never thought there'd be 11, And just more space in general. There's new rules about how much space prisoners have to have and what's got to be available. And also for the officer of safety, the more space between the arrested and the arrestor, the better. If you've ever been in there, there's quite an area in there where you bring people in and you book them and everything. And if you read any newspaper or even watch TV, it's busier than it used to be. Could I have a motion? I have a motion. And I had a second. Was there any more discussion on the design for the addition? I think they've given up the hopes of a new station or a combined station. People are just about overrided out.
I think the stage is never going to be big enough.
Yeah.
But
Well,
what are you going to do?
They're actually not filling 4 positions for a year because of the civil service thing we'll get to. Heidi?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes, and I will just say that they were talking about building up.
Right.
Yeah, so that was part of the thing.
If the structural engineers,
If they can, yeah. So I think,
because where we're sitting now didn't exist. There was no 3rd floor in Town Hall.
When did they put it in?
Pardon me?
When did that go in? When did this go in? When did the 3rd floor go in?
88.
Oh, wow.
That recent.
1888 or 19?
she remembers it.
No, this was part of the ceiling.
Oh, you were here?
The Great Hall used to be on the 2nd floor. Oh, I was here. I was on the Board of Selectmen. But it was the Board of Selectmen and not the Select Board. I'm really out. I think we were up to Fran.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm voting yes. My siblings were Stoughton police officers, but they have long since retired. We're up to 36, school safety security audit. And this just to pay someone to come in, all 8 buildings, and come up with what needs to be done, a thorough and comprehensive safety security audit.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? John?
No questions.
Well, we're voting now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so that's a unanimous vote. Now we're on to everyone's favorite. Article 38, the renovation of town-owned barn on West Street. $330,000. $230,000. It's coming out of community preservation. And it's to fund the renovation of the barn. Can we get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Yes, John?
What is currently being housed in that barn?
I think
Just barn equipment?
Vermin.
stuff that's been left over,
Detritus, which I had to.
What is it?
you know, stuff that was just left in a barn.
Nothing useful. It's not being used.
It's not being used by the town,
Rubble,
Other than that?
like antiques. Yeah.
so it's no use to the town whatsoever.
Not at the moment, not without renovation. One of the ideas, if I can,
Go ahead.
that Mark Zemanian and Dwight, both talked about is the fact that they're talking about leasing that parcel right behind it. They're hoping to bring in people who are interested in doing some type of farming. The idea then is that you kill two birds with one stone. You preserve this great big, could be glorious old barn, which is a land, something of a historic landmark, and at the same time, you have a utilitarian purpose in that whoever leases the land now has a very sizable building that could probably accommodate nearly all of the farm equipment they would need for a tract that size. So the idea is that it hasn't been used in, I don't know, a century. I don't even know how long. Cynthia, you might have no idea. Okay. Well, you know more about what's going on.
She's our
around here
historian.
At least 30 years.
There you go. But the idea is that they do want to use it. They don't just want to build it and have people come and gawk at it. The idea is that it would ultimately serve a purpose because I think something is going to be done with that parcel. They are pushing it relatively aggressively now.
And how big is this barn?
It's big.
Pretty big.
I mean, I drive by it, but I
It's big.
I really can't tell how big it
Yeah,
is.
drive up
Stop
the
by
drive
sometime and walk in there. It's
Oh, okay.
ginormous. Yeah.
Yeah, you can pull up the park and something. They have a barrier there, but you can at least park there and walk around. You can walk into it,
Can you
which is
just
another
walk
danger.
into it any day?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, because it's
probably
town-owned
risky in
property
itself.
with the thing, but you do have to be careful going into
that's-
it.
Really? Never been in.
So that's the old McNamara farm, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not heated, but it will be.
Oh, no, because it's open air
It's open air
right now.
right now.
I'm being facetious when I say that.
Until it's renovated.
In the summer, it's heated.
Yes,
We need a lot of work.
as a built-in fan.
Right.
I thought that, so I'm all about keeping this farm. I know that I'm not in the majority of town. I think that if we turn that into something like a Langwater farm or like a Wardsbury farm and have like our own thing, I know like Stoughton moms would be like all over it, which is now Maeve, would be all over having something like that because they're constantly looking for somewhere to take their kids. And that's like the perfect place if that was like Langwatered or Wardbury farmed.
Petting zoo.
Anything. So like when I was watching the video, I was like, oh my God, they could be doing maple sugaring right now. Like, there's really the possibilities are endless, but you just need the people who want to do that. I would want to go to that. I wouldn't want to be in charge of that.
Great volunteer right here.
Okay.
I agree with that too, and I know there was mention of turning that into like a museum too. That did come out in the presentation of it, but honestly, like I would prefer maybe that it becomes revenue generating. I don't think that would hurt the town to have some revenue, and I definitely like the Langwater. I mean, I think we could honor the McNamara name somehow, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a big part of this town. So. Yeah, I'm all about that. I like this.
Okay.
I just now, what about like the 4-H or the Scouts? Are they like interested?
4-H is at Langwater. I mean, Wardsbury Farm. They have a 4-H that operates out of there. I know there used to be a 4-H that operated somewhere out of the house on Plain Street. And they had animals, they had farm animals there, but I don't think that's around anymore, in the last 5 years. So if we were to bring something like that back, I know there are a couple places in town where there are like barn animals and stuff, but it's not necessarily open to the public. It's like private. So, yeah.
I think those no trespassing signs I put up are an absolute waste.
But yeah, I'm excited about something happening. I just think of the fall, like, Langwater Farm, like you can't barely drive by there because it's so busy. So there are their peaks and their lows, but also like to just go for a walk back there in the woods and then just like walk up and pet some animal or whatever.
Get a
Come
cider
walk among the maple trees, assuming they have any out there, but.
Langwater is a better choice to offer because Ward's Berry Farm is owned by the Ward, well, the family. But Langwater is rented from the town of Easton. All that land that they use and where the stand is, they put that out to bid. And a couple of communities do that. They put their open land out to bid and they get something like, the most successful one around here is Langwater. So,
That thing's
I don't know who runs Langwater. I don't know if it's the conservation or that Easton has an actual committee that does this. But actually, in the Brockton Enterprise, which some of us still get, they actually have the legal notice, to bid on that sort of thing. So I don't, it's a process, and you'd have to have some committed people. Dwight McCarron was the one from the Historical Commission / Historical Society who presented it. He seems to be very gung-ho. So, as we said, there's possibilities.
And Langwater Farm also, when they bought that, when they leased that out, originally they just had a farmer's market, like my daughter's 15, so 14 years ago, they started out with the farmer's market right across in the field in the back, and then they gradually moved to where they were, and they had that little building with no electricity, no running water, and to see where it is now is very impressive. And I don't see something like a big building like the new Langwater building, but in terms of activities, running around, picking wildflowers, doing anything like that, sign me up.
What's the acreage? Do you know? Mike?
Because it's that big field in the back.
There?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. It depends. Actually, it goes into the woods eventually. So
It
depending
hooks
on
up with Bird Street
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
so depending on what you wanted to clear, you could go into Bird Street if you wanted to with it.
Yeah.
But it's at least couple of acres.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I think it's 20.
It was surrounded by hay fields.
Yeah,
Because
the open area.
they do the hay they do the hay once or twice a year.
That
Well,
many,
they-
and is they hay that many?
No,
I know it's at least once a year.
They stopped doing the haying.
They used
Oh, they
That's
did?
the problem, because once you stop haying, all the brambles and everything come back, and it's not suitable for cattle feed. But for
It's
quite
straw.
a few years, people could go in and hay it. But I think that's why there's an impetus on getting something done, because it's basically going back to nature.
And the leasing model really works, as people can't afford farmland anymore. I'm a member of Brookwood Community Farm up on right on the other side of 93 for about 15 years now, part of their CSA. They only have 2 acres. They have 2 acres. They actually rent from DCR, so it's from the state, and then from the trustees, the reservation trustees on the other side. But they pump out an incredible amount of food, and they do it purely on a lease model. They have to renew the lease every few years, and DCR is always saying, well, it should be purely conservation land. It should, wildlife, animals, but it's perfect.
Well, if you
it's the most
plant
idyllic
anything-
spot I know. And again, the leasing thing, somebody will jump in there at some point and willing to take the chance.
As someone who owns a farm, if you plant anything, the animals will come.
Yeah, worrying about animals is the least of your problems, right?
Yeah, so, did you get enough info?
Yes.
Okay. So we do have a motion on this, okay. Heidi?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
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 It's good.
I'm voting no.
Womp, womp, womp.
Hey, if you want a farm, you buy it. Or you inherit it from your parents. The next article is 39, Historic Signage Group 2. And this is 17,000 for 15 more of those historic signs, like there's one right outside of Town Hall. And maybe, Heidi, you could speak to Dwight McCarron about adding some indigenous sites. We do have them, it's just they're not on the main drag. There's one near the Daw School, for instance. But I also spoke to Dwight at the hearing. They really need to come up with a map.
I was just going to ask that.
Go to the
That was-
Historical Society, get a map, spend a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon with the kids, and start crossing them off. There's one in front of the Universalist Church in the Square. There's one at the Historical Society. There's some of them are clustered, but there's some West Stoughton. And they did have a program on indigenous folks back on Dr. King's, around Dr. King's birthday. So there has to be some sites, and if we have to put it up in the woods near the Daw School, at least if it's on the map, you can hike the kiddies in there. No bottled water, and
Bring your own. My thing with the signs is that I wanted them to have QR codes on there. And you're talking about a map, and I was thinking that the QR code could like attach to a map
Well,
where
that's
all the
because
other
I'm-
sites are.
I'm so old, I still use a map. But
Yeah,
yes.
I would use a map too.
No, that is something to speak to Dwight about. If I see him, I'll speak to him about it.
Good idea, though.
Because that's,
Even like to have like a passport or like a scavenger hunt. And again, going back to moms always looking for something to do with their kids, like I'm participating
And
in
dads.
and dads, but it's the moms club. So that's what I'm speaking about. They do. All the guys always say that, but they're not putting one together. But there's like an Easter egg hunt right now, kind of like what the rec department does, except the moms club is putting it on, and she's putting together a map where you can drive through town, and it takes about 30 minutes
Yeah.
to drive through with your kids and to slow down and have them find the
no,
Easter egg.
I noticed, because I do have a color TV set, that now with the ads.
More than
they've
two
got the-
colors?
They've got the Q, I don't have the phone for it yet.
UHF.
They put those right on they just say, put your phone up against, the TV screen. So that's something that I don't think anyone brought that up at the.
No, they didn't.
But it's
good idea.
excellent.
No, but I'm just also thinking like a passport, and not to sound like I am like drinking nips all the time, but like when you go to like, when you go to like a microbrew, like they have like a consortium of microbrews, and you can get a passport and go from one to the other.
Oh, now I
But
know
to
what
do
you-
something like that, but to like kind of like check in. And then to be able to go from one to the other, and then when you get done, like maybe the Historic Society can give you like a
Years ago,
like a
when
bracelet that says Stoughton
we
Historic
first started
Society.
When we first had our food place down by the railroad tracks, it was on a sheet of paper, that's how long ago it was. But they had different locations in town, and you had to get a punch to show that you'd been there. When you said passport, I'm a WGBH supporter, and I know that's their term for using your iPad to get the series. These are excellent ideas, and it wouldn't hurt to bring that up at town meeting.
Yeah, I can talk to Dwight. I'll give him a
Yeah,
holler.
because the code and the passport idea, especially where I did bring up the fact that Stoughton is going to celebrate its 300th in 2 years. And that would be a great, my goal as a member of the committee has been as many free family entertainments as possible. It's nice to have a ball or a gala, but not everyone can afford those kind of tickets. So let's come up with stuff that we can all do that doesn't cost anything.
Well, and you can be a tourist in your own town.
Well, when I was teaching and I'd bring the kids to the Historical Society and other places, a lot of the parents who weren't from Stoughton, they said, I didn't know Stoughton did this, or I didn't know we had that. So yeah, anything we can do to let kids know that where they are, you don't have to be in Hollywood or New York City. You can have fun just where you are, and it doesn't have to cost anything. And the exercise. That's why I vote for all of these improvements to our open space. It's nice to have open space, but you want to use it or lose it.
Except for the barn. You don't want that, though, right?
Well, you don't want anyone to see.
Shots fired.
Well, right now, you can bring your nip to the park, just don't bring your water bottle.
And don't leave it in the barn.
The thing is that you don't want, ever, because that was our fear with the golf course when it wasn't doing well. That's 65 acres of residentially zoned property. And the reason the town bought it is somebody was going to build 2,500 condos.
Wow.
There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah.
No, that's what worries me. If we don't use our open space and make it open so that people will use it, we'll lose it. Because look at my soapbox. You look at DW Field Park. A rich guy gave them this, and it's, the mall kind of moves in there, and they're building something else on the other side, and
There's access roads that are no longer able to be
yeah,
used.
so someday, it'll be the two stone columns and the guy's name. His middle name was Waldo, that's what the W stands for.
And then McMansions.
And that'll be it, and it's, because right now you can't climb the tower except on certain days. When I was a kid, you could climb up the tower. Boy, that's a way to tucker your kids out. Mommy will be down here with her Duncans and wave from the top.
The nips.
The nips.
That is the theme of the day.
No, Mom was a teetotaler, but if Dad went with us, there'd be more than a nip or two.
Cynthia was having fireballs.
Okay, could we have
We have a vote?
well, I think we need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. John?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
I vote yes, and that is a unanimous vote. Now we move on to Bird Street Conservation.
Oh, this was like the parking lot with the electric
Yeah,
gate.
entryway improvements to have, well, the neighbors especially want a gate there, so that it's not a party space. It's an open space, but not a party space. So there's going to be an electronic gate, monitoring cameras, utility infrastructures for the gate and camera, signage and fencing, landscaping and tree work. I guess theoretically, the camera will feed into the police station, and they'll be able to open and close the gate from the police station, just like they do at Glen Echo. And the sad truth is, if you're a midnight wanderer, you're going to have to wander somewhere else, because this is a neighborhood. And I think probably somewhere there's a sign that says daylight hours only. But we all know there's people that ignore that. And also, if people see an open space for parking, you end up with vehicles that are kind of abandoned there. And then the town has to clean up the mess. Could I have a motion?
I move to accept Article 43.
And this is community preservation money, $110,000 of your tax dollars, that little add-in at the end of your, the big number, and then there's a little CPA amount, and that's where this is going. Any more discussion?
My only question isn't necessarily about this specific article, but I like the idea of having those electric gates, and there's not one at Lessa Park. It's still a gate.
Okay.
Did they mention anything about?
No, but for the annual, you can copy this, put in Bradley Lessa, and get 10 of your neighbors to sign it, and you're on your way.
Okay.
I guess the question would be, what issues arise at Lessa due to that? I know that at
Yeah.
Bird Street, we originally didn't have a gate, and we entertained the neighbors on, I think, 3 separate occasions. We heard a lot from them, and we had some very long discussions, and eventually we said, okay, they were very concerned that they had a number of concerns, some of which we addressed very easily. There was some concern that there was going to be a bus line. When we applied for the grant, in case any of you hear about this, when we applied for grant money, we had to note that there was a possibility of a bus line, a BART bus or something, coming down that road. It was never on the table, but as long as you say, we'll consider it, we considered it, and we said, no way. Well, the neighbors were very concerned that there were going to be buses trying to run up, and that's not happening, in case you hear anything about that. And then we did agree, they had some legitimate concerns about the fact that people would be pulling down there, kids would be pulling in and partying at night. So we said, okay, how about a gate? They still have concerns, I know, but I think we did a really good job of addressing them all, and we put a lot of work into the gate and everything else. It'll be like 10 spaces. I don't know how many of you use the Bird Street entrance. I'm there practically every week with my dogs. I absolutely love it. I hate parking there. I've already put a serious dent in one of my old cars, banging into one of the trees, trying to make a three-point turn. That parking space will alleviate that, and I won't be voting on this because I'm on the Conservation Commission, but I'm absolutely thrilled. I don't know if you've used Bird Street, you've probably seen we have new walkways in going through the swamps, which and the neighbors were saying we love all that. There's going to be a whole lot of new signage there, so you don't have to worry about getting lost on the orange trail as the sun's going down. It's being very much improved while still retaining its very wild character, which I love.
So did we do a motion yet, Sam? Okay. Ready for the vote? John?
I vote yes.
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 Abstain due to my seat on Conservation.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So that's 5 yeses and 1 abstention. So now we are on 49.
All day. I just walk.
It's wonderful. The quarry's cool.
All the time. All the time.
It's the
I still get lost. After 2 years here, yeah. Especially if I get down on the orange trail. We usually come in by Bird Street, we go by the pond there and everything. When I get into some of those other
That's
areas.
the civil
I've
service?
been there
Yes.
for 5 o'clock, the sun's starting to go down, you start getting a little, where am I here exactly? If I keep
Okay.
going, I'll get somewhere, but.
It's Article 49, Civil Service Revocation, and this is to remove the police department. No, it says, actually, all Stoughton police officers and all Stoughton firefighters at all ranks from civil service.
They didn't have one, they didn't have a handout, they just talked about it.
Oh, okay.
Can we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Anyone seconding?
Second.
Okay. Now we can discuss it. What they said to, what I believe I heard at the public hearing was, this will be for the new hires, that the people that are currently protected by civil service will continue to be protected. Because otherwise, I think that hall would have been filled. Because civil service is making it harder for the chiefs to hire the people that they want. It takes months to get a list, and they'd like to give local preference when they hire, and the list is anybody who took the test. And only I guess, it used to be 25,000 people took the test, and the last test was only 5,000. So the pool is shrinking, and they'll pick people from the list, and then they do a background check, and they have to pass a psych test and a physical and a drug test, and they get down to 1 or 2 candidates. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. Being a firefighter is still fairly attractive, but being a police officer has become a less attractive choice. The uniform doesn't mean what it used to mean. My brother and sister were very glad that they retired when they did, in the early 2000s.
I think, yeah,
This was
the
the
promotion
argument.
thing too, right? The promotion, it limits all the promotions as well. The civil, right? Because for them
You're
to go, yeah.
Because civil service says 4 people have to take the test. If you can't get 4 people to take the test, you have to wait another year.
Does it have to be 4 people from this community that have to take the
Yes.
test?
If you want to have a captain in the fire, there's no captains of police right now, but in the fire department, you want a captain, then 4 members of your department have to take the test to become a captain, or you can't give the test. So if only 3 people sign, you have to wait another year.
Yeah. So no promotion
yeah.
for people that are in line and deserve it when
Yeah, they
one
can't-
person
yeah.
could not be ready to take the test. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
So is there, I'm not like very well versed on this civil service thing other than what I saw in the meeting. So in 1993, I have 35,000 people took the test. In 2023, it was 5,000. And you have to take it to hire police and fire. So my biggest question is, how come people are not taking it? And is it just because that one obstacle, or is there another reason?
I think, I don't know about fire, but for police, there just aren't, there's plenty of jobs out there that you can do and get the same amount of money, and nobody's going to spit at you, call your names, or hate you just because you wear the uniform. I mean, there isn't a respect. You used to be willing to put up with the schedule and the lower salary because it was a respectable, you got respect. People admired you, the people looked up to you. And a lot of that is going away. Just, something happens in Minnesota, but it reflects on all people in uniform.
I used to live 3 blocks from where George Floyd was murdered.
Yeah, so I mean, there's, it ripples across. It's the same with trying to get teachers. I mean.
So if we're hiring people who don't have this civil service credential, and we take them on as employees, is there going to be like some civil service, non-civil service, like tension, or like, is it like, oh, thank God you're here? Like, how is that?
We already did it at Public Works, and I don't recall anything like that.
Okay.
Well, you did do it at Public Works.
We took
remember
Public
that
Works out
being
of
talked
civil
about.
service a couple of years ago.
It seems quite antiquated,
Okay,
is
that's-
what it
that's
sounds
good to
like.
know.
Yeah, because I'm just like, I don't, like, what am I
It
missing?
just seems
in
to be
that?
more of
I'm-
the stipulation of hiring and promoting. Like it puts a regular, like kind of guidelines on that, and it just seems to be
Yeah,
a
it's like
really
this extra
slow
restriction where
process.
you don't have a pool anyways.
Right.
It used to be.
It opens the pool up. This should, if you drop this should open the pool up to who we can get and attract more talent, basically,
Okay.
was the idea.
I mean, they put this in because in the good old days, you just hired your son, his friends, a couple of nephews, especially in a small town.
Well, if I could just add, I believe they still said they're going to offer a test. They're going to have a test for the candidates. They have at least established a list. It's just that it won't be the same restrictions as civil service.
Okay,
You're still going to have to
So,
pass a physical, a
yeah,
psych
go
eval,
through the whole
and a drug
process.
test.
yeah.
I was surprised that I didn't see more of our President, Police, and Fire in the audience, and no one spoke against it.
No.
No,
I
they were
think
compelling.
we've seen too that with civil service, when someone does something, it's very hard to get rid of them. Look at in Boston, when they, convicted child rapists, appealed his dismissal to civil service.
Yeah.
So,
They have to also, they're going to, if this passes town meeting, they also said they're going to set up a whole slew of criteria, boards, internal stuff,
yeah, I mean,
standards.
this is just our step. Then it goes to the legislature.
We're not the only town
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna say,
doing this,
there are
right?
other communities who have
Sharon
done
doesn't
this.
have civil service.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And the way they're going to promote it is obviously online. You know, like civil service right now with the state running it, you just go into the state website and you can see all the different civil service exams and people sign up for whatever exams they want, including police and fire. That's how they got over the years, 10 years ago, whatever it was, 20 years ago, 25,000, 30,000 people. Because I remember in the 70s and 80s, I took the police test and they sent,
It's like an audit,
it was
the
it's like the
gymnasium.
SATs. They send you to, I think I went to Quincy to take the test over there, Quincy Junior College at the time.
My brother and sister took it at Brockton High School.
was so
It was
many
in the
people.
Gymnasium.
You're in their gymnasium
Yeah.
but now it's going to be hopefully a little,
This room?
yeah, it could be this room. I think over time, things will probably go back the other way too, though,
Yeah, hopefully.
It'll take a lot of years.
Yeah, I mean, people were afraid that in a lot of cities and towns, they'd actually shrink their departments and hire more social workers. And that really hasn't happened. I mean, if someone's breaking into my house, I don't want to know that he had a bad childhood. I want someone to come and take him away.
I think you're getting off topic.
He can tell the judge that he had to go to bed without dessert. But that's because of my age and that I live by myself.
I hope someone that breaks into your house will sit and talk with you and just have a chat.
Scan a QR code for
And
you.
while the police come,
My house was broken into, and I came home and I said, it's a good thing I wasn't home when this happened, because I'm a licensed to carry a firearm.
uh-oh.
And the police officer said, no. You can't just shoot someone. I said, I'll take my chances with the jury. At that time, I was 65 years old. I just skipped getting my hair done that week and show up in court. I don't have to pretend to be weak and old anymore.
That's funny.
Okay, I think we had a motion
Yes, we did.
and a second.
Yes.
John?
I vote yes.
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 Heidi?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
come out like that on the minutes.
That was a unanimous.
He had
Now,
wise. Yeah.
if I can
I was
just learn
thinking
to
that one through.
If I can shut up a little, we only have 4 more to go. Article 50 was the one we heard earlier in the evening about Saturdays, not working on Saturdays. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ready to vote on this one?
Yes.
Yeah. John?
Absolutely.
Yes.
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 Yeah, yes.
Yes. And that was a unanimous yes. Now we're on our single-serve drinking water plastic bottle reduction bylaw.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Are we ready to vote? Okay, John?
Abstain.
No.
No.
Yes.
I'm so on the fence. Abstain.
I'm voting no. So that looks like 4 no,
How many abstentions were there?
Two.
What were the
Two.
two abstentions?
One yes.
Oh,
Three
were you
no's. Two
abstentions?
Abstaining.
Okay.
okay, so yeah, there was 2 abstentions, 3 no's, and a yes.
Like, I
So-
love the spirit of the article. I just don't like it.
Yeah, me too.
So I have 1, 2, and 2, but that's only 5. There's 6 of us here. Am I missing one?
Is there,
One,
was
two,
my
three,
other
four, five,
abstention
six.
on
No,
this?
3 no's.
Sorry,
Oh,
you.
3 no's. I'm
Three
sorry.
no's, two
Two
abstentions.
It's
Yeah.
3 no's. Okay, I didn't get the 3 no's.
Yeah.
1, 3, and 2.
it,
So it fails, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think
yeah,
we
I
have a
think
litter problem.
it'll come up again as a
We
state
have a
thing.
littering problem.
Again, I love the spirit of
I do
the
too.
bill. I want to support it, but like I see the nips as a greater issue than the water bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my kids, we have like a million reusable water bottles. We don't use, the single use
Mm-hmm.
ones. And you know what? We drink tap water.
Yeah, well, I do too.
that
I figure if it does you any harm, it's too late now. Next is Article 52, the sidewalks
spread that
on
around.
the design for the sidewalks on Turnpike from Central to Park and $1,400,000.
Where's that one? I don't have that one.
Oh, I do have those.
444.
There's two sets, PowerPoint and
Oh, yeah.
petition.
This was Peter Murphy,
Two.
right?
This is Mr. Murphy. He's
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very devoted to this issue.
Promised him I'd work on his
I can give him a call if you want to have him.
Could I have a motion?
Can we
May I-
replay that?
May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mike, did you get this?
John.
I'm sorry, John.
Oh, this,
I think I
Yeah.
called you Mike like 5 times today. I'm
It's
really
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, you ready?
Okay,
no, I didn't.
you need the petition too, that was a petition too.
do we have any discussion on this one?
I have a comment. I was curious on why the engineering department didn't bring this up, and I did mention to Peter, was it supported by the engineering department? And he said yes. And it's easy for me. I walked to the engineering
That's the
department,
second part of it.
and they had concerns of drainage, big concerns. And I can't say exactly what they said, only because I wouldn't say it correctly, but there were a lot of concerns on drainage. So this is a $1 million article, so I would,
And this is just for the-
$1.4 million.
Yeah.
Like plus.
For
yeah.
design, right?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the design. I heard Mark Tisdale talk about that because, of course, the sidewalk would be higher than the roadway. And so then the water would be in the roadway, and they don't have adequate drainage in that street. It was a gravel road that they just paved. They really didn't do a lot of work on it. It's not like the Park Street, which was designed federal highway. So that was their concern, that the water is just going to, it's an extremely wet area. If you have friends up there, most of them have at least one sump pump. So if the sidewalks impede the drainage and more of it goes onto people's property,
Can that be designed out, though?
Oh,
Can
yes.
that be done?
I think that's why it's so expensive to design, is they're going to have to design the sidewalks, but they're also going to have to design the drainage system, because there's federal laws about stormwater.
Is this something that we could get Mass DOT assistance with?
No one asked that at any of the hearings that I
That's what I
went
was
to.
thinking.
Let me go.
All the other ones.
I know.
It's a,
I have.
it says engineering survey, design services, land acquisition, easements, and all other work required, which I think would cover the drainage. But I think that's why it's $1,401,444, is it isn't just slapping some pavement on either side of the roadway. Yes.
So I remember Central Street only had a sidewalk on one side of Central Street. And then there was something going on in town. I don't know if it was like a walk to school like initiative or what it was.
Safe walk to school, the feds paid for that.
Okay, so how come this wasn't included in the Safe Walk to School? Because I know they did like an examination of the entire town, or I'm under the belief
It
they
has to
did.
be within so many miles of the school.
Of a school, and it's not, okay. And then, again, just like you were saying, like, I had, like, how come there's no town involvement? Where's engineering? Like, how come Mark Tisdale wasn't sitting next to him, you know, and presenting this? I just think the whole thing is very odd, and I don't know, like, if it's being handled appropriately, because,
Well, I mean,
like, Mark Tisdale's not in charge.
Yeah, well, Peter wants, I mean, I live on a state highway, and there's still only a sidewalk on one side of Park Street. So there's not too many streets you can name that have a sidewalk on both sides. It's usually dirt over here and a nice paved, so, but this is the petitioner's article, this is what he wants. It may be that gradually he'll modify his view, but this is this is his article, and this is what he wants. He wants a sidewalk on both sides.
And I don't drive down there very often, but whenever I have, I've never seen anybody walking their dog or anything on that street. So I don't even know if that's like a high foot traffic
yeah.
area, because, not because, I haven't seen it, but it's, I drive down there periodically, and it's like, I can't think of one time I've ever seen. My kids went to Jimfinity,
And
I
think-
never saw a kid
I think
walking
Peter would
there.
argue that because nobody is going to take their dog out where they know that the potential, I mean, I walked up and down that street as a child, but there's always been truck traffic. Also, it's a rather straightaway, so that people do feel like zooming along. Even though it is thickly settled, it's supposed to only be 30 miles an hour. So I think, I'm not a dog owner right now, but most people try to find, that's why we have a dog, we're building the dog park. People want a place where their pet will be safe. He mentioned, so there's not too many kids walking to school, but he's mentioned quite a few bus stops along the way, too. So you just vote how you perceive this.
I'd just like to add, if you don't mind, I do walk that once in a while. It's a tough walk because the ruts, you're in and out. I mean, there's no really, what do they call it,
Firm surface or even surface?
There's no, you're walking up and down hills on the
Well,
side there.
Peter
There's
is
not much
advocating
land.
for his neighborhood,
Yeah,
but, I mean, this is true, unfortunately in Stoughton, this is true.
A lot of places.
yeah.
So,
You know,
can you reiterate what you said before about Mark's opinion on drainage?
well, he felt that they'd have to come up with some sort of drainage plan because the sidewalk will be elevated from the roadway, which would kind of funnel the water along the roadway.
Stormwater management, he had to
Right,
use
that's
that
what I'm-
stormwater management plan.
That's why I think it's gonna cost that much to design. Construction, God knows.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is just the design.
And Peter may never live to see it. My mother campaigned for 36 years for a sidewalk, the sidewalk we have now on the highway, on Park Street. She was dead for 4 years when they put it in. But I went down to Evergreen and told her she won her fight.
Nice.
No, I mean, her battle was with
Her
the state
legacy.
of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
My sister was like in first grade when my mother started the campaign. She was married and everything by the time, so we call it Ma's Sidewalk.
Do you remember, I was just curious, you remember when it was paved? You said it was all gravel before? Dirt road?
Turnpike Street was a gravel road,
Oh,
and it ended on my property. My property, part of it was on Turnpike Street. When they built the highway, they moved Park Street over, and that moved Turnpike Street up.
how long ago was that? I'm just curious. I mean, you have all the history, I just.
Wow, is that another jab? Wow.
No, I think it's interesting, though. I mean, you don't think of these things, you know? I mean, never thought it was,
Well,
I never thought it was.
she's a great historian.
There were 4 houses on that street, because when
On
you,
Turnpike?
yeah, if you stepped off the gravel road, you'd drown. There was water on both sides.
Really? Oh.
There was no management in those days.
Is it wetlands? Was it wetlands?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, wow.
it was farmland.
Do they have problems at the rehab? Is it a rehab facility right there? What is that?
Yeah. There's a.
Do they have drainage issues there?
Oh, yeah, they've replaced their septic system 3 times.
Really? Wow.
Wow.
Their septic system is the entire lot except for the building. They even rip up the parking lot. And because my land is downhill, I get some interesting flow, and it ain't water. But they're hooking up to sewer. They're
Oh,
gonna be,
yeah.
they're gonna be hooking into Campanelli. And it won't cut up the street. They're going through the property. And there's plans for Chateau to do the same. So the 2 biggest problem areas will be taken care of. Everything takes time. This is government work.
You should add that, just a little historical note, that you lost a lot of your frontage on your property.
I
right?
lost it, my parents lost an acre.
And that's a lot of land.
That's a lot.
They took the whole, well, I have 3 acres of frontage. They took,
Wow, that's a lot.
when you go down to Park Street near my house, our property went to the center line. Park Street was about this wide. And they widened it and made it into a highway, and they moved it. When they moved it over, My neighbors got our acre, because they got bigger front lawns.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because they moved the road.
Interesting. You would never know that.
No,
You would
no.
never know that.
One time they were looking for a water leak on Park Street. Nobody on Public Works realized that the water pipes weren't there. They were in Park Street, which was over there.
That's
Oh, well.
interesting. Good side note.
The history of Stoughton, and, so, do we have an article, did we have a motion on the sidewalks?
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a comment. These sidewalks could coincide with the new South School being built? Because,
I don't know the timeline for those things. This is just the design.
right, but I'm just saying, are the children that live on Turnpike Street, are they bused to the
Yes.
South School?
Yeah.
It's that far away? Okay, because I'm picturing the kids are gonna need a sidewalk.
Well, we don't know, the entire town will be redistricted. Those children may end up
Right.
somewhere else, too.
They could be going to the DAW.
Right,
Yeah, so we don't know. The design's going to take at least a year. God knows how long it will take to, get the money or a grant or whatever to start building. And the same with the school. Tuesday night, they're coming to make a presentation in front of the Board of Selectmen. But I don't know, I haven't been going to their meetings to know what their timeline is.
That's a good question because the Turnpike is like right,
yeah.
I'm just looking at Google Maps right now. And it's right there. Okay.
It's like I went to the North School, and as I say Turnpike Street, it's like the same distance at the Golden Road. I grew up on Golden Road. It's a Golden Road to the Daw School.
Oh, I have no idea. This is, I haven't, gone into, I know that redistricting in this town is hotter than the third rail. But I don't have any involvement in that, and I'm glad. Do we have a
I think we just need to vote.
motion on sidewalks?
Yes. Just the vote is needed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm old.
You're doing great.
See, I can remember the past, but I can't remember what happened 10 minutes ago.
I vote
John?
yes.
Pardon?
I vote yes.
No.
I'm going to abstain.
No.
I was a no vote until I saw the map, so I'm going to abstain because I'm on the fence.
And I'm a no. So that's, is it
One yes.
1 yes, 3 noes,
Abstain.
and 2 abstentions?
Who abstained? Scott and Heidi, okay. So that
Okay, drum roll, we're on the last article.
fails.
Columbus Day, name change to Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Dude, you got to let me have that.
Sorry. Yeah. No.
She
She should have had the
gonna
motion
hurt
to
you if you
approve.
I'll defer.
He was like too quick for me.
Okay.
Both of you.
Are we ready to
I
vote?
want this one to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready?
Ready
There's
or
no
not?
comments?
Heidi?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
Scott's a yes?
Abstain.
Abstained.
I'm
Abstain.
voting no. I don't mind if they call it Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples' Day, or Indigenous Peoples' Day / Columbus Day. And I'm not Italian, but I think that,
So it's
maybe I'll just call it tradition. So
2-2-1, 2-2-2-1? Is that what you got?
No, we have 3 yes.
It's
Oh, is
3
it
and 3.
3, 2, 1.
3-2-1.
So how would we?
So the
We
motion
have one
passes.
no, two abstentions.
That's technically split in half, because abstains would.
Yeah, it's two abstentions,
Actually, I'm going
right?
to change my vote. Can I change that? Because I feel it should be a separate holiday on its own, so I'm going to vote no.
So what do we have now? 2 noes, 1 abstention, and 3 yeses?
2 noes, 1 abstention, 3 yeses.
Got it?
So it's still split, so I don't know.
How many people voted yes?
3, so it's split 3
Three.
and 3, so I don't know how to.
Well, I think, it's split 3. Correct me if I'm wrong. 3 yeses. How many noes?
2,
2 noes.
1 abstention.
I would say it passes.
Passes.
I said it passed.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. 3, 2, and 1, okay.
Yeah, an abstention can't be
Dave,
assumed to be either, right?
The committee votes, I don't make,
Oh, no, I just didn't know what the declaration of vote was. I just want to make
We're
it
gonna
clear.
have to take more of your
I
land?
mean, I try to, although, my Ruggiero cousins and,
Before we go, I just want to let everybody know, if you haven't heard yet, there's the select board opened a special town meeting warrant, so, for the Salt School article. So there is going to be a special town meeting within the annual town meeting. No dates will change or anything. They'll just have to pick what date they're going to open up the
There's a
special.
possibility that other articles can make their way into that, right?
Oh, yeah, it's closed, doesn't close till tomorrow night.
yeah, they'll close it tomorrow. And the thing is, even if someone comes in with a petition, according to town council, it doesn't have to go on the special warrant. It can go on any warrant that the select board chooses. Because there is someone collecting.
That was a decision as of today. I don't know. I don't have any vote on that,
Well, we'll, see.
Yeah.
The suspense is building till tomorrow. So, motion to
Well,
adjourn.
before we, I'm sorry, one other comment. Go ahead, Michael.
Do you know when a petition has to be in by?
Tomorrow.
She's from the clerk's office.
I don't think they, on our
Do you have to,
end.
do you have to validate the
things-
signatures prior to
Yes.
tomorrow?
No,
Oh.
so it.
I thought it was
we-
prior to the select board tomorrow.
So because it's the special, it's a little bit weird, because usually you have X amount of days, like for the annual, the deadline was the end of December to get petitions in for the annual.
Right.
So because a special is being called for a specific thing, the rules are pretty much up to the select board and town council of whether they wanna do what they wanna do. Because it's an annual, I mean, a special, they will still have to get the 100 signatures to qualify. But again, if they get the 100 signatures, put it in, and they say it's gonna wait till the fall, then they wait till the fall. But that's just, I have to go based off of what town council and the select board.
And I just want to add that because there's a special town meeting and there's at least one article for the South School, we have to have rules committee, have to sign the article. We may have, if it gets assigned to this committee, we may have to have a public hearing again. Sorry to let you know about that,
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
okay?
So moved.
So just stay tuned to your
All in favor?
emails.
I'm not polling.